This is an add-on to part one. I realized that as I was walking through the mayhem and getting distracted, and I was talking about my one sheet and my experience, and the first piece of that experience, I realized that I had left off some information. So I just wanted to touch on the part three of my history and how that can help your audience, and how I'm going to convey that on my one sheet.
You know when someone is selling from stage and at the end the audience gets up and rushes to the back of the room to buy? That's a table rush. My name is Misha Z, and the Table Rush Talk Show is all about bringing you the tools, strategies, and tactics that you can use to grow your audience and inspire them to buy.
Wow, that was a mouthful getting that out. Okay, so part one we knew was the one sheet I would talk to my sober history, my recovery history, my life through the recovery lens. Now, it was also, I don't think I spoke to this, but a big part of that is a huge amount of my altruistic purpose manifests through that, through the addiction and recovery circles. I speak on it all the time. I have an opportunity to speak at meetings about it. I get to mentor guys in recovery, i.e. direct one-on-one mentorship to help, men. I work with men. It's this whole idea in that arena that men work with men, women work with women. I try to hold to that. Some people don't. I don't care, but that's why I say men, just so you know. But I have, and I get to, I get to speak at meetings. I get to, mentor men directly, one-on-one mentoring, and I do a ton of that. And then also I go volunteer at recovery houses, or like, what do you, like spin dry houses, get you people, go to treatment centers, things like that. There's one in particular that I volunteer at a bunch. It's called the First Step House, North County. But anyway, I think there's so much juicy information there to pass on to people's audiences, because it's had such a profound positive effect in my life and provided so much purpose. And then there's the mortgage stuff, all the amazing salesmen experience, bulk of it when I was a loan officer, so the mortgage stuff, but how to systemize your lead gen process, how to use scripts in that, how to use CRM in that, customer relationship management tools in that, how to be energetic and positive and happy and crush it, and how to be of service in that arena, in the sales arena. The recovery angle of my life has really taught me to constantly be thinking of, how can I be of service? What can I bring to the table in my work life, as well as my volunteer life, but definitely in my work life and my family life. So, I've got all this, I was great. I've got all this amazing experience, but no buts. And I was really good at moving the needle as a salesman, being a rainmaker, making that happen. So I can bring all that to the new digital marketing arena. And what I've learned in the digital marketing arena over the last 3 years. So how to move the needle in the digital marketing arena. And all the stories and frameworks. So I want to make sure to add in my one sheet, I'm talking this out with you, thank you for listening, that I've got incredible stories, inspirational stories, learning stories to tell in all these areas. I've got frameworks in all these areas. So if I'm speaking to, positive mindset growth that I've learned through my experience as a, looking at stuff through the recovery lens, right? I've got all sorts of things that apply to everybody, that everybody can use and apply, right? You know what I mean? Like I could take it outside of the recovery arena and apply it to your customers, I guess is how I would say it. I think I'm making sense. Hopefully I am. Hopefully as you're listening to this, you're thinking, yes, this does make sense. How can I start looking at my life, the stories I've got, the frameworks that I have that maybe you don't know you have, like you need to suss out those frameworks. I spent a lot of time over the past year or two, like what are the frameworks that I know? What are the step-by-step processes that I have for dealing with situations, for mindset growth, for, how to have better relationships with your kids, in all those arenas, plus the business. So, but fast forward again to the main gist of this episode was, okay, I'm in the digital marketing arena. I've gone deep in it for 3 years now. And I know how to move the needle in this arena now. And, key takeaways are things that I can talk about in this are like, hey, you've got to have your stories straight. Like, what's your story bank? Get your story straight. Get your customer stories in line. Like, you got to know your customer stories so you can apply those stories to your frameworks. This is how I do this. This is how I help people. For example, my customer Tom, who I took through this process, and this is his before and this is his after, right? And so start collecting those stories, getting those stories in line. And then your frameworks, what frameworks? Are you speaking in frameworks? Listen, I've interviewed hundreds of people now in the digital marketing arena. And I've interviewed tons of fledgling entrepreneurs that are trying to get traction in the digital marketing arena. And you know what the number one, I'll tell you the main things that I see that people have trouble speaking to. Their own story, keeping it concise to the point, knowing what parts of their story to tell and when, like having that ready. And then having your customer stories, that's the biggest one. Man, so many fledgling entrepreneurs, or even entrepreneurs that are successful, but that rely so heavily on spending massive amounts of money on internet leads, Facebook leads, social media marketing to create their revenue. And then they're just teetering on the brink all the time. You've just seen it. Oh my God, the 2 to 3 years I've been in this space, 3 years now, I have so many stories I could tell you in that regard. So yes, your customer stories. And then your frameworks. Like, people can't tell you how they get their customer from A to B. I mean, they can do it, but they can't tell you how they do it strategically, not tactically, but the overall strategic. Step one is, we get the customer. This is the first thing I do with my customer. This is the next thing we do. This is the next thing we do. This is the next thing we do. And that helps them get to the future state. just like my customer Bob, or my customer Jane, or this company that I helped. We did this first step. This was their before state. This was their now state after that first step, etc., etc. So yes, now the digital marketing arc of my story. It's going to speak to a lot of you. Got to have your stories in line. You got to have your customer stories in line. You've got to have your frameworks in line, and then you got to be ready to start talking about that and bringing it to market. All right, I think we're good here. Part 3 done. Enjoy the day. Send me an email. I believe my email in the show notes is contact@belove.media. Again, contact@belove.media. I know it's a rather benign email address. I'll get one with my name in it soon enough. For now, use that. All right, love to all.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Table Rush Talk Show. For resources to help you sell your stuff, go to belove.media/resources. That's belove.media/resources. And be sure to subscribe, comment, 5-star, and share. Thank you again for listening.